Today I'm going to talk about what I consider to be the worst sacrament in the Catholic Church, and just in general, one of the most difficult things that people have to deal with today, and that is the Sacrament of Marriage. Now, the reason I'm going to talk about marriage is because I was married to this guy who basically decided that the Great Reset was more important than me, and that he was going to leave me, own nothing, be happy. He didn't care about his son anymore, but he put on the pretense that he did. And in order to understand how this sacrament affects people, it's important to understand the symbolism of marriage. And first of all, the first thing to understand is even without a formal marriage ceremony or a formal wedding or even an acknowledgement, from society of this relationship, there are these biological bonds between two people when they get into a close relationship like this, even if there isn't the formality of going in front of other people and them witnessing the marriage. But then when you take this relationship and not only are you boyfriend and girlfriend or significant others, now you're saying to everybody that, yeah, this is something that we want to do for the rest of our lives. And the sad thing is 50% of marriages today end in divorce. So there's a lot of people who are really hurting out there because unfortunately, their marriages didn't work. And that's probably the biggest problem that I see with pretty much every religion out there, is there's no formal acknowledgement of how bad it is and how bad it can get. And now, some people, once it's over, they're like really happy, and that's okay too. It's just that in some cases it gets really bad. Hence, if you look around on the internet, you will see all these get your ex back spells and just people trying to get back with their partner who has left them. Because there's this real, once you make a bond with that person, there's this real, I don't want to say psychological, because that would be making light of something that's essentially biological, need to get this person back. And when people take marriage vows, they say things like, till death do us part, and in some cases they even try to extend that to the afterlife and basically staying with this person forever, like even after they die and stuff. And I think we should also talk about the symbolism of the ceremony itself. Now, in the marriage ceremony, traditionally the woman wears a white dress, and that's been the case for a while now. It wasn't always the case, but it's been that way for as long as people can remember. But again, that's not always been the case with these ceremonies. But the white symbolizes purity and basically an openness to energy. And the groom traditionally is wearing black and a white shirt, so the groom is actually in some sense kind of protecting himself from the energy, but he's also wearing white, so he's also open to that. Traditionally there's rings and vows. And now, in some sense, it can really be a secular thing, but when we take this into the church and we add a religious element to it, now you're taking that ceremony and you're doing it before God, or what you feel like is the most important higher power in your life, and you're saying that this person, like, we're two separate people and now we're one person. So when you get married, you're still, like, physically two separate people. You're still, you know, man and wife in the church. But that's physically, that's, you know, what you see in the flesh. Now, when you start talking about the emotions and the spirit, you're not the same. Because emotionally, these people are feeling each other's emotions. They're, you know, there's energetic cords between the two people. And spiritually, you have this higher power saying, you know, now you're one. And that's how marriage is seen. So now what happens in a divorce is basically there's a severing of that bond. And as you know, when you cut something, you know, when you cut yourself, it hurts. And when there's that strong bond there, you know, if there isn't any, like, strong bond, then it's not necessarily going to be that painful. But when there's that bond, and then one party or the other party or both parties, you know, sever it, it's really, really painful. And part of that is actually unnecessary because, you know, you've already got that whole aspect of the physical and the emotional. But the part that doesn't really need to be that bad. It's just that bad because, you know, we have this religion that puts such a moral value system on the importance of getting married and staying married. And the other thing that's really tough is a lot of people stay married for the kids. But then if the spouse is actually a bad person for the kids, where they're actually doing things that are very bad for the children, then, you know, you can't really stay married for the kids because it's actually worse. But there's this tendency to think that you could just work it out and just be like roommates or something. But sometimes it just doesn't really work like that because one or the other partner is just so messed up. There is no sticking it out. And I used to think that this was the most important value that the church taught, was staying married no matter what, through thick and thin, and till death do us part, and that it was a moral value because then you're not seeking to have sex with anybody else except your partner. who you're married to and who is like so important to you. But instead of being a moral value, it's actually like some kind of warped value that just doesn't work in our society anymore, in terms of being a stay married no matter what kind of deal. If one or the other partner leaves, then the person who's left really, I don't want to say they can't do anything about it, because that's not exactly true, because they can. But the problem is, if they get that person back who is really messed up, it's really bad for the kids, and it's really bad for the person who got the messed up person back. And as far as the other, like, party, it doesn't matter about them, but because they already cut that bond with their partner, so them coming back is just, I don't know, it's just not, they're not really the same person that their partner married anyway, so it's not like you're really getting them back. You're just getting back a body, like a dead body, basically. So yeah, so till death do us part, but yeah, you're getting a corpse back, basically. So, at that point, basically, the marriage is over. Even though technically you could do something to revive it, it's not really a good idea.